He's just hilarious. So his lead up was really interesting. And did you see his videos? Because I think the thing about fighting, the one thing that I think a lot of fighters forget about is that it's not about the fight at all. If
That's what
you're
happened before.
if you're in there to make money, it's not about the fight at all. It's about who cares about the fight, and how many people are going to tune in, how many people are going to watch, and how many people are going to cheer for you and or boo for you because they want to see you get your ass beat.
Yeah.
How many people are going to have that? And Volkanovski just did a massively amazing job. He did this whole montage of him being like an old guy going around his house using the
I've
old
seen
guy.
that. I've seen that. Yeah.
It was
With the glasses
unbelievable. It
on.
was such a great way of creating a spectacle, but doing it through self-deprecating humor was just, I think it was the first time I've ever really seen that from a fight. It was a shame that he lost. It would have been really good if he would have won because, as a guy who's an older guy, him saying that, the 36-year-old beat, it doesn't exist. It unfortunately did for him that day. And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and Mentoring podcast. We are super excited today to have here with us Michael George, all the way from Quebec in Canada. Talk to me, Michael.
How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing so good. It was so good to have a chat with you and start off sparring on the idea whether boxing or jiu-jitsu was the best workout at the gym. And I think we kind of came to the conclusion they both are pretty darn good, but jiu-jitsu wins.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start off with this
We're
conversation.
going to start again, man. We're going to start again.
All right. Well, again, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say that jiu-jitsu is the more dangerous sport because you got more control over your freaking opponent. If you get a hold of him, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you grab his arm, he's done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But now the trick is to be able to get close enough to a boxer.
Well, that's true.
Where I would say.
And it's so interesting. So I have a very good friend of mine. He just got into the UFC, and his name's Pat Pitlick. And I mean, his striking is just so slick. Like he just finds openings. His uppercut is just brutal. But his ability to manage distance and everything and get out of the scramble and get back up again is just second to none. And so I have a lot of respect for boxing, even when compared to something like Muay Thai, where Muay Thai is, you've got so many different options. It's beautiful.
Their kicks are crazy. Oh. If you get kicked by a Muay Thai fighter, you're done.
Oh my God. Then bring on the elbows and the knees, man. The knees are the
I was about to say.
Yeah, the knees. So there's a gym I go to, and the guy who runs his name's Chris. And when he's just doing the little practices and he's just like, okay, we're just gonna demo this, and he uses a little bit of a test person, throws that knee in, you're like, oh, and you're just trying to breathe and pretend like it didn't do anything, but you're dying. And
especially when they hit it on the solar plex as well.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
One hurts the most.
He's so good at placing wherever he places it, and it's just it's not hard, it's just placed well.
And
I think that's a lot of times when you look at boxing, and boxing is a purism of just hands. And you have to be, when you start to myopically focus down onto one specific element of combat, you've got to be so darn good at it. Not only to be evasive and get out of the positioning of the attack, but to be able to place the attack.
Exactly.
You look at, I think it's a brilliant sport to watch. I think they all got their place, and people always say, who's going to win? And it's like, well, they're all different sports. At the end of the day, they're a sport. It's not pure combat. It's rules.
A sport. Yeah. You see, that's the thing. When it's pure combat, when it's like, let's say a street fight, anything can happen, you know? And the more you know, the better. Because in a street fight, in a bar fight, most 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get someone who doesn't know how to fight.
Yep.
Right? Most of the time, they're just swinging their right arm. So whether you know jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, you're going to knock him out very quickly. These karate stuff, I'm very iffy about.
Well, people do talk about, and people knock karate a lot, and for a lot of good reasons. But then there's also people like, if you look at Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, or if you look at all the stuff that Bas Rutten's doing with the karate, the combat karate, a whole cycle.
Have you seen that?
It's amazing, and they're just bringing a lot more combat back into karate, because I think karate became more of a business, and they lost the art of violence in their sport.
Karate became more of a show as well.
Yeah, they're doing a
Like, have you ever
dance.
seen their freaking, there's the show where they do like kata one, kata two, all these stuff, and then they start striking air for some reason,
And they're screaming, and it's
and
how
they're
loud you can
screaming.
yell.
Yeah,
And that person loud, that person was really loud, give them a black belt. And it's like, well, they're 13 years old and they've never seen a fight.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not
So
sure
that's
if
the
that
thing.
makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but now with the, as you said, the new combat thing, they're bringing in the violence again, finally, and it's fucking fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would not want to mess with any of these guys. I would never want.
The thing is, there's a purism to violence, and for me, I don't believe in violence in the street, because I think that's just, you can end up in prison. You can, there's so many bad things
Hmm.
that can happen.
Yeah,
But violence in the perspective of the purity of the communication is what I look at, because there's nothing that's fake in it.
true.
The communication between the two combatants is pure. I'm going to strike you in the face, and you're going to strike back, and we're going to figure out who's actually going to win this.
Yeah,
Now, we can argue sometimes that the pure outcome doesn't happen, because I believe Nagano won, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat about saying that, but
but he
you
did
know,
win. I 100% agree with you.
yeah.
Even I'm a boxer, right? Like, he whipped Tyson Fury's ass. He knocked him down. I
I
don't
know.
understand how Tyson Fury won.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
How did that
Maybe
happen?
because they can argue that he tapped him on the forehead a couple more times, but
Well,
that's not a fight then.
but that goes to, again, I think we're seeing this happen in a lot of the sports, where they go to counting up the touches rather than seeing the damage. And I think
Exactly.
we see that in certain aspects of Muay Thai. You'll see that in certain aspects of boxing,
Hmm.
where the person who's dealing the most damage, getting those really good hard hits. Yeah, they're letting them touch them a little bit because it's not really, damage, and they're losing. We saw that happen at a tournament a while ago, where a good fighter that I know lost the match, and I'm like, how? Like, the other guy looks like he went through a war, where the guy who lost looks like he barely got off the couch,
Yeah,
and it's because they counted the touches.
but it's
And so
not,
we
I
see,
don't think I don't think it's right. I think they
yeah,
should change it. I think it should be more of the damage. But you like you mentioned Muay Thai. I don't think it'll ever happen in Muay Thai because
it
to
does. No,
them,
100% it's happening in Muay Thai. It's
yeah,
100%. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I just had a really good friend of mine. He's an MMA coach, and a
that's
lot
good.
of the people who are coming out of Muay Thai and going into MMA, they get into the octagon, and they're doing some almost touch sparring, rather
Mm,
than planting down the foot and producing violence.
mm,
And where the person who comes in with a little bit of a different spin on attacks, or maybe from an old school gym, they can really put the heat on. And
yeah.
so I think there's definitely that happening in all of the sports.
That's sad because every time you see these videos of Muay Thai, you see them like literally putting in the power like behind
I'm
their
not
their
talking. I'm
kicks.
talking at the entry level. At the highest level, like when you look at Sensei, or you look at, like,
Sanchai,
any of
yeah.
the, yeah, you look at any
Buakaw,
of the,
I love him.
oh, Bukal,
Bro,
yeah, he's
Buakaw, bro. This
crazy.
guy, his kicks, I love watching him. When he gets pissed, there's one video where he got pissed off at that one kickboxer or some shit. Bro, I'm
Yeah.
sure he ripped off that guy's legs.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
just
You should
brutal.
see. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you didn't,
Oh, I know
it's
exactly what you're talking about.
perfect. Then
Yeah, I
yeah,
know
whoever
exactly
is
what you.
listening to this, Borka probably kicked this guy's like kicked the guy in the legs, and I think he broke both his legs. Like that
Yeah,
guy wasn't
probably.
able to walk afterwards. He was done.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Like he gave up after 3 rounds.
he is unbelievable,
Hmm.
unbelievable. Yeah,
Especially when he's
there's
pissed off.
so many good fighters in Muay Thai, that it's just so much fun to watch. I really love how one championship takes and integrates Muay Thai with Jiu Jitsu, with
Hmm.
MMA, and brings in all these different rule sets into one spectacle, and really showcases the art of martial arts, because
Yeah,
each of the different art themselves has so much standalone value, and to be
hundred
able to see
percent.
them in the purest form, it's just
Hmm.
amazing to watch.
Yeah, and UFC does it very well. But have you seen the most recent fight, Taporia against I forgot the guy's name.
Ah, no, I
The
did
most
not
recent
catch that.
UFC fight.
No, I didn't
It's
see that
Taporia.
one.
Taporia apparently is well, as far as I'm aware from the style that I've seen, he's a boxer,
Was this the one where he
right?
kicked him in the head, and like it was the setup, and then he was that
No, no, no. It
the kick
was he knocked
knockout?
him out with a good right hand.
Oh, okay. I think I saw
It
the
was the
highlights.
most
I was down
recent
in
UFC fight.
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas at the time at a conference, and so I
Hmm.
only caught highlights out of
I
that one.
just forgot who he fought. I completely forgot who he
Yeah,
fought. But I was watching
yeah,
with me and my friends, and Taporia, bro, this guy's a boxer. and he was able to keep his distance, so that guy wasn't able to take him down. And eventually, round 2, he landed a straight right hand and knocked him out, and he was done. The fight was
Oh, you know
over.
what? I think I did see the highlight on that one. I
Yeah,
think I did see the
and
highlight on that one.
it's actually annoying me. I want to know who he fought. It's pissing me off now. It's in my head. I
I
completely
know.
forgot who he fought. But yeah,
This is on the episode of Joe Rogan where they start searching on the internet and say, "Hey, what was that
Cameron
again?"
here?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that? I don't know. I don't know the
we
rules.
are we are allowed to do. We are on our own podcast. We're allowed to do whatever we want to
All
do.
right, cool. Let me do it real quick
Yeah,
because it's
you gotta
actually
look
in
that
my
up.
head right now. UFC. Oh, it's 298. Volkanovski. Taporia against
Oh,
Volkanovski.
I love Volkanovski.
Yeah, well, he got his ass whipped at
I
the end of the
understand that.
fight.
I understand that. And that no, that one was a while ago. That was probably a month or two ago, I think it was. But
It was the most recent event, yeah.
Volkanovski, that was a tough watch.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I think
He's a good person, yeah.
he's just hilarious. So his lead up was really interesting. Did you see his videos? Because I think the thing about fighting, the one thing that I think a lot of fighters forget about is that it's not about the fight at all.
That's what happened before.
If you're in there to make money, it's not about the fight at all. It's about who cares about the fight. And how many people are going to tune in, how many people are going to watch, and how many people are going to cheer for you and or boo for you because they want to see you get your ass beat.
Yeah.
How many people are going to have that? And Volkanovski just did a massively amazing job. He did this whole montage of him being like an old guy going around his house using the
I've
old
seen
guy.
that. I've seen that. Yeah.
It was
With the glasses
unbelievable. It
on.
was such a great way of creating a spectacle, but doing it through self-deprecating humor was just, I think it was the first time I've ever really seen that from a fight. It was a shame that he lost. It would have been really good if he would have won because, as a guy who's an older guy, him saying that, no, the 36-year-old beat, it doesn't exist. It unfortunately did for him that day.
But isn't 36-year-old, you should be at like more or less your prime? That's like the prime fighting age. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I don't know. It depends on how many miles you probably put on the body.
True.
I mean, if you're like one of those Muay Thai fighters who have, 400, 500 fights by the time you're 26, I think you're going to be in a different situation than the person who's, sort of been pacing the way that they.
But for some reason, Sanchai, that law doesn't apply to Sanchai. That guy's almost like, 50 or some shit? He's got over 1,000 fights and he's still fighting like nothing happened.
There's certain people that are just built for success in the ring, and definitely he's one of those.
100%.
Even if you look at Floyd, right? Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's fighting different types of people, but I mean, the way that guy can avoid damage is just so interesting to watch.
He's the best in the industry for defense, 100%.
No,
he's the
100%.
smartest fighter ever. Somehow he's able to figure out every single fighter in less than 3 rounds tops.
Yeah.
Past 3 rounds, he's figured you out. You're done. You lost. You lost the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a very good strategist. 100%. Yeah. I think he gets more flack because it's Floyd Money Mayweather. People focus on the money side, not the Mayweather side, and I think from just his strategy is just unbelievable.
Yeah, but even then, as you said, most of the fight happens before the fight as well, and Floyd is a master at that. That's why he's able to sell so many fights. He's the most successful fighter. He's the richest fighter actually.
Well, and he
as far
knows.
As I'm aware, yeah.
I don't really know what the stats are on that, but I know he's pretty much up there. But the idea is that he knows that the ticket sales is what matters. You're there in the ring to fight, but you're there in the ring. It's a spectacle. And because it's a spectacle, it's how many people are spectating.
Yeah.
And so the understanding that I think is so super critical. One of the things I thought was really interesting is, to me, and I see this a lot, I'm doing a lot of stuff on the podcasting space and really connecting with people on how to build a business using podcasting. And the other thing is how to build a business in the fighting space. And most people look at it and they say, well, I got to get big sponsors, and that's super important.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Imagine if you actually owned the sponsor. And I think the person who did that the best was somebody like George Foreman. Right? Look at George Foreman. Half the world knows him as a boxer, and half the world knows him as a really good chef. Right? Like the biggest chef they've ever seen.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, so he's got the George Foreman grill. So it's this grill that you can buy. It's at like Walmart or Amazon or whatever. And a lot of people just know him because of the grill. They never even knew that he was a fighter.
That's
And
interesting. I
and so
never
he
knew
was
that.
able to use the one brand to leverage the other to leverage the other. So
Hmm.
this little pinball brand effect, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, there's a smart way of doing it.
Absolutely. If you
Using
focus on the
one
business,
business to build something else.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're sort of doing a little bit of the same thing because you've got your fitness business that you're working on, you've got your marketing business that you're
Hmm.
working on, you've
Yeah.
got your gold and jewelry business that you're working on, and they all kind of interplay with each other,
It is.
right?
Yep. It
So
does.
I think
Actually,
the
I spoke about this to this guy called Sidney McNary.
hmm,
He's a worldwide author. Actually, he's the one who gave me the idea, and he's the one who actually made me think in a completely different way. Like I was thinking, I don't know how to explain it, but the way he thinks, right, is go all the way. Like become the best at what you do. And what he told me was start with your jewelry, right? Focus on your jewelry and become the biggest jeweler in the world.
mhm.
And to do that, use your marketing business.
Yep,
So that way, we're literally putting two businesses in one to grow one. But then at the same
absolutely.
time, my marketing business will get all the credibility because the marketing business, technically speaking, is the one who built the Michael George jewelry company.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, it is a very smart way of doing it.
Yeah, and then you dovetail into the fitness side of things that you're doing, and when you talk about men's health and everything, I
Hmm.
think that dovetails right into the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But now we just need to figure out a good marketing strategy to be able to freaking connect them all together.
Well, I think you just said it. I think the idea number one is if you're talking about men's health and you're talking about
Hmm.
people who are looking to try to really dive into their masculinity,
Yep.
part of that is being able to communicate really effectively. Now, one of the great ways to communicate effectively, at least for me, is I love communicating success, and I do that through the growth of my businesses, and I love being part of that journey of success and marketing plays a huge role into that. So if I want to
100%.
feel better as a man, I want to have a really good business, and that
Hmm.
makes me feel better as a platform. And you could say as a man, as a woman, it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah.
gender independent. It's just saying that for me, that's what's important to me. And then you look at it, you say, okay, well, then the other thing is so my how do I feel? Also, how do I look? And a lot of people, that's a really important element is to
Yeah.
ensure that they fit the look that they want to give. And people who hone into the jewelry business can really dive into that because it's
Yeah.
a sign of success, right?
100%. Yeah. Every time you wear like a nice chain that you've earned, it gives you that confidence and you remember the journey that you were on every time you look at the chain.
Yeah,
Because
it's
that's
not
what,
about the chain.
it's like what buying an expensive watch. It's exactly the same thing.
Yep,
Whenever people who buy like their first expensive watch, every time they look at that watch, it has so much sentimental value. Same with this
yep.
one here, right? Except this one isn't expensive. It was like 200, 200 bucks.
It doesn't have
But
to be. Yeah,
but
it
it was
doesn't
the
have
first
to be.
watch I bought myself,
Yep,
but from my marketing company.
yep. Yeah,
You
for
know?
me, I think the only thing that I buy is like property, and I love
Hmm.
investing in businesses.
Yeah.
Jewelry, I've never gone down the jewelry route before. I think it's because and every time I wear it, I lose it. I think there
Yeah.
was one time where I was at a rugby game, and I got home and my wife was like, "Where's your ring?" I'm like, "Oh God!" And so I had taken
Oh.
off it at the because I didn't want my finger to get crushed,
Oh yeah.
during the game,
Obviously. Yeah.
and and we actually went back to later that day. So it was like 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night or whatever. And it was 5 minutes. She goes, "We're never going to find it." I'm like, well, we'll see. I found it in 5 minutes. And I don't know. And not that I'm good at looking at things. I can't find the steak in the freezer. Like like I'm just not my thing. But
Jeez.
I was lucky that
Mm.
day. So that taught me
Hmm.
that me and jewelry probably don't make a good
Yeah.
couple.
But if
Yeah.
anything, you can start investing in jewelry. Oh, actually, right now it's actually a very good time to invest in jewelry.
Oof, I've heard gold is right now ridiculous.
It's at
Ridiculous.
2,100 something. It's an all-time high.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's up.
people.
Bitcoin's also up too,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
that
I
too.
don't know if you saw that. Holy
I
crud,
did.
did that just skyrocket? It was
You know
crazy.
why? It's because inflation's. Sorry, it's because what's the word? Um, recession is coming now
Mm,
because people are saying that the Feds are going to lower interest rates, and
mm,
usually when they lower interest rates, that's when inflation starts.
yeah.
Inflation. That's when depression starts.
Mm.
Fucking recession starts.
Ah,
There
ah.
we go.
Yeah, yeah. So generally speaking, when you lower interest rates, is to create a stimulus, and
Yeah.
that's going to create a growth in the market
Hmm.
because there's already was a recession.
Yeah.
We've already been through something over the past year that was just, not really talked about as a heavy recession. But I can say, the spending habits of people over the last year certainly adjusted compared to the years prior.
Yeah.
That to me could be considered as a recession. Recession, there's math that the economists use. I really like the idea of the Big Mac evaluation on economics. What's the cost of a Big Mac? How did that adjust? How does that compare to incomes?
Yeah.
And that's going to tell us what what prices really are doing.
Nice. So you're basing your investments on a Big Mac.
Basing on a Big Mac, which I don't eat, but
You don't?
but it's no, I don't. I'm not a. I love meat, and I just don't know if there's enough meat in the Big Mac to call it a burger. And so I'm
Yeah,
not
that is
knocking
true.
McDonald's. I just don't know. I've got a buddy of mine. He gets me some really good farm grade beef, and that makes me super happy because I know exactly where it came from, and that's a good thing. It doesn't have his name on it, but it's pretty darn close. And say Betsy,
I mean,
but
as long as it's farm fed, it's good. It's kind of, and the meat's coming from a farm, so you know it's actual like high quality meat.
yeah, yeah, it's so good. Like the difference when you have really good meat
Hmm.
versus when you have meat that is you don't know where it came from. And
True.
I think it's getting even worse right now. There's a lot of spots that I used to buy tenderloin at that now that when I start cutting it, it doesn't feel the same as you're cutting it. It doesn't when you're denuding it. It doesn't cut the same. It feels the texture is off.
Yeah.
And I know when I go to a really good place and I get really good tenderloin and I start cutting it up, it's a whole different ballgame,
Yeah.
right?
It feels a lot more tender. It feels a lot more softer in a way.
Yeah, it feels softer, but
It's
it doesn't
like,
feel like it has like almost like water. Like it doesn't have a
hmm,
wateriness to it.
yeah,
There's some of them that you get the tenderloin just has this wateriness feeling to it. It
yeah,
just
yeah. I know
doesn't
exactly
make
what you're
sense.
talking about. Because usually what I do as well is I order my meat from a farm. It's a local farm. You can order online. Get you
Yeah,
this big box full of like different cuts of steak. Then when I
yeah,
go to the grocery store and buy my steak, it's just a completely different, especially it's even a completely like different taste. You can
yeah.
feel the taste from it
Oh
when
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
farm fed, when it's like a good quality steak against the grocery store steaks.
You can tell we're doing this podcast sort of mid afternoon. We probably both are on a fast or something because we're both like so jacked about meat right now.
I actually had a workout right before this. Me and my friends
Nice.
had a good leg workout, so I'm starving.
Oh,
I'm
I'm so
thinking about
excited.
steak.
So excited! I blew my knee out about a month ago,
Yeah.
so I've been missing leg day, and I really am excited to get my knee fixed so I can get back to hammering my legs again. But
Are you gonna be
I
doing
do
surgery for that?
well. I found out tomorrow if I have to do surgery or not.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's kind of what happens. But I do have a guy that I'm working with right now who seems to believe that he might be able to get me to not do surgery because he does this like rehab stuff that'll hopefully make me miss that. And man, if I don't have to do surgery, I am so game on for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
surgery is very risky, especially when it's on the knee.
There's so many that I know because of jujitsu. I mean, unfortunately, it's just comes with the
Yeah.
territory. I know so many people who've gone through and they're like on their baker's dozen of like knee surgeries,
Mm.
and I just, that's the thing that I dread the most is that it's just going to be a perpetual event. So hopefully, can get this thing resolved pretty darn quick.
Yeah. Worst case, you got two knees, you know? So if one doesn't
Yeah,
work, you
that's
got
right.
the other one.
That's right. Yeah, just get a bionic replacement one that I put on and it would be good.
Oh, that would be cool if you get that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, I already have an AI version of myself out there, anyways.
Oh, yeah, I
So,
know.
yeah.
Okay, when first time I sent you a text message, it wasn't even you that responded. It was the AI.
Yeah. It was my AI. Yeah.
I was like, who am I talking to?
Well, I've done a couple videos on YouTube where, people are like, oh, that was a great video. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't me. And they're like, what? Like, no, that was just totally AI driven. I literally just typed something. And in fact,
Mm.
I didn't even type it. I had an AI driven agent that actually made the content, and I just directed the content straight to a video that then produced the video.
So,
So
so what happened was the AI created the content, and then another AI recorded the video,
that's right. Well, it made the video. So
made
it
the video.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even in it. It was just it used me as a building block to create the video.
Yo, AI nowadays, bro. You don't know who's real and who's fake anymore.
Well, it's funny because when you start talking about Bitcoin, that's the thing that I wonder about. Because when you think about blockchain not as a currency, but blockchain more as an authentication token, I
All
think
right.
that's going to be something that we're going to see come up quite heavy. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you and I are having this conversation, you'd have no idea if I'm AI or not. You have no clue. I could be totally a fake version of myself. And because AI is starting to build in a lot of these inconsistencies in the individual. And by that, I mean, when people are recording podcasts, I have a client, podcastai.com, and what they do is they make software for, taking a video, cleaning it up, and
Yeah.
putting up the podcast. And a lot of people, oh, can you remove the ums? Can you remove the ahs? Can you remove the pauses and all that other stuff? And what AI is doing is actually injecting those back into the conversations so that when it's a fully AI version of a person, it's going to come back feeling real because they have those non-authentic, those pauses,
Mm-hmm.
which creates the authenticity.
Yeah.
Because the perfection sometimes doesn't feel right. I've listened
That's
to a
crazy.
book. A friend of mine did a book, and they got the book totally read in his voice via AI, and you can tell because it's too perfect. Like when you hear him talk, he takes these breaks, he stutters and that sort of thing. But in the book, there's none of it.
Yeah. It's
And it just
crazy.
has this, yeah. So it's just, it
Fuck.
doesn't feel right. So if they would have
Mm-hmm.
injected a little bit more pauses, a little more stuttering, a little bit more
Yeah.
clamor into it would have felt, more authentic. But
You see what's crazy? What makes something perfect is the imperfectness of it.
hmm,
You know? Didn't you think of that
100%.
just now?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just thought of it now. I was like, the
yeah.
way AI makes something perfect is by adding the imperfections to something.
That's right.
And there you
Exactly.
go.
Exactly. That's what makes human, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
we all have our imperfections. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, both of us are perfectly bald, which is a perfection, right?
100%. And we both of us are
You,
perfectly good looking, so we're good. I know how to fight. We can get any girl we want.
there you go. There you go. Well, I think
But
my wife would fight on that one. So
I'm 25. I don't have.
you
For
don't have to think
some
about
reason, there are some people who think I'm married, and I don't know why.
it. Is it the wife that makes them think that you think you're married, or
No, no. But speaking of AI, have you ever heard of this term called Turing complete?
called which?
Turing complete.
No, tell me.
No. So there's this guy called Alan Turing, right?
Mm,
And he was the inventor of the very first AI. It was back in World War II, and they were trying to break the Enigma code. It was
mm,
the Enigma machine that the Germans were using to send out messages. And it was encrypted by the Enigma machine. And that thing was so sophisticated for even today's time. It used to be able to create a code in seconds,
mm.
right? And you need to find the combination to be able to decode the message. However, there was over 100 million different codes, and it changes every hour, every 12 hours, right? So every 12 hours, they choose one of the millions of codes. And obviously,
Mm.
humans can't do that, right? So what Alan Turing has done is he tried to create a machine that is able to decode it, but his goal was to be able to create a machine that thinks like a human being, right? So you'd look at that machine and you would think that there's a human being inside that machine, right?
Interesting.
And the reason why he started was obviously to decode the enigma, and obviously they killed him because apparently he was gay. but his idea still lives on, and now any machine that's close to Turing complete is considered a machine that thinks like a human being. And today, it looks like we're very close to that.
Oh, we're very close. I mean,
Yeah.
it's when you can. I had so part of the AI stuff that I'm doing, I made a bot that can actually call out to people, and I have this one bot that it basically talks a lot about my friend Jeff Blackham, and it talks about all the positive things about him. It's trying to convince you that you should be more like him because he's just this amazing person. It's a big gag call,
Mm.
and but the way that this AI responds is hilarious. just starts making jokes, and it's playful, and
Jeez,
you're,
yeah.
you're laughing while you're talking to it, even though you know it's AI. It's just hilarious.
So that's the
And
thing. You
yeah,
know it's AI.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know it's AI because it sounds AI, and it's
Okay. Yeah.
authentically says it's AI, so it doesn't
Hmm.
say that it's not.
Fair.
But you know it is, but you get the suspension of disbelief because it's so darn funny. And so then I don't know. I think AI is going to go to such an interesting direction for
Hmm.
satisfying so many elements of society, and for causing so many problems in society as well. It's going to be a double edged sword. I think
It
we're
might be. Yeah. Depends on who gets their hands on it. We can use
yeah,
AI for good, but it can also be used for bad.
absolutely,
It depends
absolutely,
on how you program it, because it'll only be able to do what you program it to do.
yeah, yeah.
If you
No, it's
program it to
very
do
true.
bad stuff, it'll do bad stuff. But if
It's going
it's
to do bad
programmed
stuff.
to just read grocery store labels, that's all it's
Yeah,
going to be able to do. That's it.
that's
It's not
right.
going to be able to take over the world.
Until it gets out.
And yeah, until someone gets their hands on it.
That's right. Exactly. Well, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. We've just hit so many topics, and I've really enjoyed chatting with you, talking all about
Same here.
marketing, talking about fighting, talking about gold, talking about AI. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure, my
It was awesome having me. It was awesome being here. Sorry, it's been 30 minutes and my brain is fried. But honestly, the
man.
30 minutes went by very quickly.
Beautiful, my man.
Hmm.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And guys, this is the Money, the Mindset, the Mentoring podcast. And we will see you on the next one.